some reveal music to this part. We're at number one. The number one Irish ad in Ireland for Christmas is... Welcome to That's What I Call Marketing, the podcast where you will hear from the leading lights in the marketing world and listen to their unique insights. Well, if you are watching, you will be able to see from the really poorly placed lights on my microphone here. Yes, it is our Christmas episode. I'm delighted to be back with a Red Star Christmas, where we rate and review all of the Christmas ads with thanks to Red Sea Research and their Red Star testing platform. So we are delving in deep to the top 20. We're going to do a top 20 countdown, just like the old Top of the Pops days, if you remember that, and go through what consumers think of this crop of ads. And it is really revealing to see what ads are showing up and what ads placed and what is number one on the chart. So stay tuned for all of that. And I'm joined by an incredible panel of experts. I, of course, have Ciara Reilly from Red Sea Research. I also have joining me today is Linda Bradley, who's head of planning at Diageo in Ireland, and Marc Smith, who is global director of insights and analytics at Marc Anthony Brands. So a really brilliant panel, great data from Red Sea, and a really interesting conversation. So again, thanks to Red Sea Research for their partnership in this episode. You'll be able to get links to the Red Star platform in the show notes, so you can go check out all about that platform and how easy it is to use to upload your ads and get results and understand how consumers are perceiving and viewing your ads. If you're enjoying That's What I Call Marketing, and of course I hope you are, because you are listening to this episode, look, it would be a massive favor if you could rate or review the episode, leave a comment, subscribe, share. If you share the episode with one other person, it just helps grow the reach of this podcast. And as I said before, the old algorithms don't love helping us out. It's a real pay to play, and we really can't afford to pay what they want us to, or they would like us to pay. So definitely appreciate all the support we have there. And we've over 43,000 subscribers on That's What I Call Marketing. So appreciate everybody who joins in every week and listens to the episodes. So let's get right into it and see who are the top 20 ads of this Christmas. Ciara, Linda, Marc, great to see you all, and thanks for joining our Christmas episode. This is obviously an annual thing, but it's great to kind of talk through the crop of Christmas ads that's out there at the moment. And obviously we have our rankings, our Red Star rankings from Red Sea, which is going to frame our conversation. So we're going to be able to have a chat about, you know, what the data says about the ads and then what we think about the ads. So we're going to kind of do a Top of the Pops style countdown and go from 20 through to 1 and chat through some of the ads and what consumers think. So yeah, it's not just our opinions, but of course, you know, that's the good stuff, is our opinions. And we know how hard this is. You know what I mean? Making a Christmas ad, making any ad is bloody hard, and trying to get it right, and all the intentions are good, and then, you know, sometimes it doesn't land sometimes as well as we hope. But so listen, we'll go through some of the ads and kind of in the lower half of the top 20. I'm not going to say that the bottom of the top 20, but the lower half of the top 20, we got some ads that, well, did they surprise us or not? So we have the new Tesco ad. So that is kind of, you know, bottom of the top 20. So still top 20 ad, but bottom of the top 20. Interesting ad. I did see someone comment on it saying, you know, they should have left EastEnders to EastEnders, which I thought was good. Were you guys surprised to see this one where it was?
I was actually shocked, because when we were running the test, we sent the ad around the office just to share it, and I hadn't seen it live. And I was literally laughing out loud. I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in a long time. And to say it hit home is a bit of an understatement. That scene where it's, God, what did you say? What happened? I thought it was really funny. So I was really shocked. Yeah, I thought it would have done a lot better than what it did.
I was a bit torn on it, if I'm honest. Like, I thought the insight was so strong, right? Yeah. And it felt so real. But again, at Christmas, I'm not sure I want that relayed to me. Do you know the way, even though it is so real, I'm not sure I want a mirror held up and to see a bit of the rawness and the realness of Christmas. So that I probably wasn't surprised maybe that it was from my own personal perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, like from my perspective, I liked this. I could see the strong representation of the insight in the creative itself. I just wasn't crazy on the actual insight itself at this time of year, as you say. So like I think the ad itself, probably the highlight might have been the first few frames where, you know, that, as you say, Ciara, you know, the older guy, you know, he's kind of putting his hand over his mouth saying, "What did I say?" After that, then I felt some of the scenes where, yeah, quite, you know, traditional scenes that you might expect to see around a Christmas table. So yeah, no, I agree. It's maybe that could have worked at some other time of the year. That might be why it's a little bit lower down the table.
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
moment.
that's interesting actually. So yeah, good insight. But the next one actually, Mark, you know, hit home for you. So the John Lewis ad, and this definitely seems to have had a mixed reaction, kind of in, you know, marketing LinkedIn, let's call it. But you said it kind of, you enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that when I was watching it back recently, my son was at the kitchen table with me, and he asked me why I looked like I was about to cry. So I think that must show that it's working, at least at an emotional level. So yeah, I probably would have expected to see it higher, to be honest. Like there's I felt actually rewatched it and watched it again, and I felt there's even more depth to it when I watched it back. Like, you know, you can see that the son is a music fan, and that's how he's attempting to connect with his father. And obviously, it must resonate with me because I'm this demographic of the father, obviously. And yeah, like it just for that split second moment, you can see the father and the son really connect and properly feel seen by each other for almost the first time. So I thought it was really emotional.
And I think when you look into the performance of the ad, it does really well in what we call fame, which is, you know, talkability, because lots of people are saying, oh, it's the start of Christmas when, you know, the John Lewis ads come on and they're really looking forward to it. And it's recognized as being the John Lewis ad as well. But I think where people struggle, and some do love it, where it falls down, and I think what brings it and Tesco actually quite similar is that dose of reality.
Yeah.
So it's that people just are saddened by the relationship breakdown, for want of a better word, between father and son. And they're seeing that in their own lives, and they don't want that replicated on screen. They want to feel that the world is a lovely, fuzzy place that they can thrive in. And I think there's, you know, John Lewis, obviously the production, which was absolutely fantastic and, you know, so moving, but for some, it was just too close to home.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think, but the end, like with the resolve, right, where, you know, the son gifts the dad the present, and I don't know, I feel like it ends on a, you know, a nice uplifting, kind of more uplifting note. But the music, and again, I think it depends on your age. I'm showing my age, but the music for me as well was a lovely, you know, point in it. Both the original track and then the newer, you know, the newer version of it. I also think that it just transcends Christmas, right? It's not just a Christmas insight or, you know, tension. So yeah, and I have a son myself, and so I kind of, you know, I could relate to it. So yeah.
We'll move on to some of the other ads in the middle section. We've got Super Value and Lidl. And I'm going to be honest, I almost got confused by the two of them. They felt very samey. Lidl felt like it was something, and I don't know, I tried to research it yesterday, but it felt like it was made for 20 markets. It was really generic. I don't know if that's the case.
I'm trying to remember the Lidl one. There's one, the girl on the bus.
Yeah.
It's the girl and the boy sober. So there's lots of different scenes, and she's talking about people are nicer.
Yes.
But yeah.
It felt like it was lacking, even though the little girl was gorgeous talking, and I just felt it was lacking. It didn't feel as authentic or something, and then the Super Value one I felt was very, like, not Christmassy, very functional, like based on the facts, right? And I don't know, no storytelling. And maybe that's what they wanted to do. I don't know, that was the brief. But I think when you're in a sea of a lot of brands that are doing amazing storytelling and a lot of emotion, then kind of get forgotten. Then I think if you're just talking, you know, pure functional facts, you know.
I completely agree, Linda. And I think there's 3 ads. I think it's just 3. So Super Value that ran, we'll talk about Home Store more, and M&S to come. And they look at essentially functional, tactical type ads within their storytelling Christmas ad. And the other 2, I think, nailed it. Whereas Super Value just focused on let's get as many products out there as we can without kind of embodying the Christmas storyline. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons that they're further back in the ranking.
I did like the relatability of the Super Value ad. It was like, and it was a very clear, uncomplicated, functional message in a way. Yeah, and I could have assumed it was to justify Super Value trading up to Super Value at Christmas, and, you know, relative to the mults and discounters. But yeah, I kind of wondered, is that solely a rational decision, or could you bring a little bit more emotion to it as well?
And they had that wonderful girl in some of their ads. last year. Do you remember the little character like
yeah, the funny girl.
She was
Yeah.
brilliant. And he's like, why did they? Now maybe she didn't want to be in ads anymore, but like make her the star or find some way of having a character like that. I think could have really worked. And in between the two of those, but tied with Super Value, is Spar Trees. Now that's an ad that's been run over and over again, and it's a funny one because like I don't necessarily love it, but I know it. Like I hear the music and I know the Spar ad. So they've done a great job of that creative, but the consistency.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think, over the past few years, it's been consistent in its scoring. It's not, at the top of the pile, it's not at the bottom. People recognize it. It is what it is. It's not kind of delivering really strongly on the emotional context, but people are saying a little bit indifferent about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt it was a kind of quite a brave ad in a way because, well, it's all about, looks like it's trying to create these distinctive brand assets. And if you look, like being the geek that I am, I made a note of when branding comes in across each of their ads, and this one comes in right on, only at the very end. So, at the time it would have been quite a brave thing to do to only bring the brand in right at the very end.
Brave is one word.
Brave
As we get into kind of the upper ends of the top 20, we've got TK Maxx Festive Farm, again, something that we've kind of familiar with, I think, and it's good to see it did well in 14. New one from Boots, Puss in Boots, and Linda.
I think, I think Boots always probably do it. Like high production values, a real spectacle. The music plays a role. I don't know. I didn't love it, to be honest. I don't know. And I'm a big Boots fan. Like I love their proposition, what they stand for. I always end up spending way more money than I plan to spend when I go into Boots. But I got a little bored watching it. Like they're obviously trying to tell a story, but I just get to the point a bit quicker. No.
And Linda, you're touching on something that people are mentioning a lot, the long ad. I know obviously at Christmas, brands do the big production and, they put all the money into this massive creative and they really want to do the storytelling. And it's nearly like a movie. But in the comments, people are just like, it's so long. I don't want to watch a TV show. Yeah. So, and we know, we've done so much work with Cara Nelson-Fields and attention research and how much attention people actually pay to TV. And we know TV linear, once you're watching the ad, you're going to watch it to the end, but you're really pushing it at a minute and a half if you're expecting people to get to the end, particularly when the reveal of the brand is at the end. So I think that is something that people are a little bit frustrated about as well. It's like, but come on, get on with it. Make it snappier, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt there was really high production values. Animal is included, tick that box. But there's a lot of, But at the end of the day, like, what was there really compelling consumer insight there? I didn't really feel so. And to your point, Ciara, about like these longer ads at Christmas time, sometimes they start to feel a little bit self-serving. As in, you want me to sit here? Like, what's in it for me here? Like, wasn't a really clear narrative arc there necessarily? So I felt there's a lot of style, maybe lacking a little bit of substance. And then I started wondering, was this all just for the pun of being able to say Puss in Boots?
Yeah, that's what I was left wondering as well. Was that the starting point going,
we can
do that?
That's the big idea.
I did also wonder, so Pete Markey, CMO of Boots, did leave during the summer. And I just wondered, did Pete leaving have an impact on the ad not being maybe where it could have been? But that might be harsh on the entire team that's left behind.
Yeah.
The next one is Vodafone C-Swim. Again, an ad that's kind of been around for a number of years now. And I was really glad to see it back. I think the consistency of it, I think what's really interesting about it is the very simple story, but you can see it over and over again and still enjoy the story and the connection, which they're all about connection. And this is a brilliant ad that talks about connection and wonderful.
Yeah. And look, when you read the comments, people are saying, when it's on, I know it's Christmas. It's nearly become the John Lewis Awards. And I think it's a fantastic story. And I think the other thing it does really well, what we were talking about earlier, it's the reality of Christmas for many people in Ireland where their loved ones are overseas. Yes. It tells it in such a loving and positive and, caring way that it delivers those good emotional cues rather than leaving people thinking, I'm going to my daughter. I think it just does it very well.
And your point there, Conor, I think like the consistency piece is such a, new people can come and go, actually know the person who made that ad, he's now working with us. But I think there's a tendency, new people come in, are going to change it up, but actually just being consistent. And I think without overtly saying anything really functional, they're inferring the reliability of their network, right? And So I think
a really clear link to the product, the brand. Yeah, totally. But I think there's no coincidence. There's not an accident with that this lad is living on. I think it's the power of the underlying consumer insight here that means that it resonates in an emotional way with people. And it gives them a payoff. I could still watch that ad now and still feels fresh to me. And the way, even the way director's treatment on it, seeing like how he's holding the phone as he's about to land in the water, like just it feels really emotional. And the payoff at the very end when she says, "I'm with you." I think that's so powerful,
isn't it? And I think the casting is brilliant in it. You know, the way they deliver is incredibly strong.
You were tuned into That's What I Call Marketing, the Christmas episode special, brought to you by Red Sea Research and their Red Star standardized method of advertising assessment. Visit redsearesearch.com.
So into our top 10, and first, well, they're kind of joined, but we'll go to kind of maybe the first that's in the top 10 list as we have it here is Sky Mobile. And I think to be fair to Sky Mobile, I think they've done a really good job this year. They're spending a lot of money, but they're doing a really good job. You know, Roy's in the ad. He's doing, his Roy character, which is all it is now, I think, isn't it? And it's done well. Ian McCarthy, Linda, who you know well, always talked about that stuff where they have to be in on the gag, and it feels like Roy's in on the gag here. And so it was nice to see them come out with the Christmas ad.
Yeah. And I think that's why this dose of reality worked really well, because the Roy character is well loved. Everybody knows who he is, how he behaves, and they're nearly just making him into the Christmas Grinch, which is a much loved character. So, they're kind of poking fun, but it's a nice dose of reality that's just a little bit of fun. That's not too heavy. It's just funny. People like it.
I think that's interesting, Ciara, around when lots of the ads are really emotive, and kind of tugging at your heartstrings. Actually, this one using humor and, Roy Keane's trademark wit and kind of style, tone, it kind of feels like almost like a bit of the opposite of a lot of the others, which I think is great because then it stands out. And so you said, Conor, I think that, they've really started to build Roy Keane as an asset for Sky, the brand, Sky Mobile. So yeah, I think it's, again, consistency,
Yeah, consistency is the word, all right. Because it's kind of the same campaign idea, I would say, kind of with tinsel on, which is not a criticism. I'm assuming this was filmed at the same time as the window cleaning ad, or that one where he's sitting on his couch. Because I noticed it's the same actor that's the window cleaner as it is the Swiss tree
I
seller.
noticed Mark. I noticed his flat.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah, well, see, I'm not sure. Yeah, kudos for them to being able to stretch it out over the course of a few different seasons.
That's very perceptible.
Very detail, Mark.
Background character.
Amazing. Well, up next then is the National Lottery ad in what could be argued as their first ever Christmas ad, although they've always had the Millionaire Raffle Christmas ad, which did incredibly well for them, performed well, sold tickets for them. I don't know this year if they still do the Millionaire Raffle. And it seems to have had
It's on air now, actually. So I spotted it on air there a few days ago. So yeah, they're putting both out.
Wow, that's interesting. They are not short of cash. They are not afraid to spend it. So they obviously had new CMO, new agency this year, and they're doing a lot of new work. I know they had an ad out early in the year. So I don't know if this is tonally where the National Lottery are going, quite dark and bleak, but it's landed in the top 10. What were your guys' thoughts on this ad?
I thought it was lovely. I just thought that the focus around, the people behind the scenes who do, so much, and that generosity of spirit, and I just thought that was the magic and the possibility, and the music as well. I think it's a track that was used in Love Actually, and so I think for me it did feel very festive. It was just a lovely human story. I think it ticks the box for me in terms of emotion and the feeling and simplicity of the story, and just good feeling all round.
Mark?
Yeah, I absolutely love this. I could see a strong narrative arc, but there was a really, the insight, again, a really powerful one about connection and belonging, particularly at this time of year. What I loved about it, though, is that the obvious fantastical approach could have been used where you see them driving down Route 66 in the final frame or something like that, but they actually focused on the emotional connection and the belonging that they created by saying you're part of the band as well, rather than showing him in the Cadillac or something like that. Absolutely loved it. I think it feels of a similar vein to some of the more think it's like the mid-year ad that they've done as well, where you have two people at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
You know, and it is, as you say, Conor, it's relatively bleak outside. So I'm guessing that they're using that as a counterpoint.
Yes.
You know, life can be bleak at the moment, but join the lottery and you never know. You might not have to.
And I think that's what people love about it when we're talking about, you know, Linda, you mentioned that the sense of people in the background and all these people coming together and the generosity of spirit. And you, like when we're reading through the comments about what people are liking about it, you know, they can see themselves in that scenario. And, you know, they really feel that, oh, I'd love for that to happen in terms of their emotional impact. It delivered a lot of warmth. Not as funny as their ads would have been in the past or amusing, but, you know, certainly delivering on that warmth element that really helped to push it up. And it was recognised as being a national lottery ad as well, which is always, you know, very helpful.
That is interesting because the product, you know, they have one very subtle moment where you can see the sign outside the shop. So it's right to the end. So it's what we were talking about earlier. Like, that's quite risky to, now they will, you know, they do spend a lot of money. And so they know they'll get that kind of reach and frequency.
Yeah, and it is because the reveal at the end,
so strong.
We do have some saying I wouldn't have known who it was until the end, and I had to, you know, so that did happen. But the reveal at the end, it could only be the lot that would come from. So I suppose they have the benefit of the industry being, you know, themselves. They have that recognition.
It is a good point, you know, that the National Lottery in the past would have had a major focus on all those distinctive brand assets. And it is a bit of a departure now, where now I think it was second 12 of a 70-second ad. It is before you actually, as you say, Conor, you see the logo above the shop door.
And I think you have to be looking out for it. And again, you're right, the departure again away from humor into this kind of more real world. I don't know, and I do agree with you. I think the payoff works, and they weren't tempted to go and show what happens next. That's kind of left to your imagination, which I think people quite like that as well. So it's interesting. I'm gonna guess probably, and nobody has to comment on this, but they're probably disappointed they're not in the top 3, I would imagine, with this ad. So up next, we've got On Pus Tin Man. Again, we're kind of talking a lot of, this is interesting because we are talking about ads that we've seen before and are coming out again. And there has been, maybe the UK is different to us here in Ireland, where, you know, the UK seems to have this need to refresh the ads every year, whereas we're seeing ads that, you know, are working and are liked, and Tin Man is one. It landed really well when it came out first.
I don't know how many years they've been running this, right? But I think, again, a bit like some of the others, right, where they're kind of building a character, you know, as a distinctive and memorable asset, which I think actually, you know, very authentically ties to the brand and what On Pasta is all about, particularly at Christmas. And then I'm sure it's no harm that's helping them, like all the Wicked hype at the moment, right, featuring also Tin Man. So I'm sure, you know, it's feeling quite culturally relevant. But again, it's simple. There's something around, I think there's some themes like consistency, simplicity of the story, you know, the emotion. I just think, again, it's an ad that and probably can withstand the test of time, right? The insight is very strong. It's a kind of a universal one that you can't see, you know, changing. So I think it probably can stand test of time for much longer. Yeah,
from my perspective, I think to your point, Linda, you see a very direct link with the brand and the proposition here. You know, it has such a strong role at this time of year. So it was a lovely emotional overlay on that kind of expression of the brand role this time of year. I did kind of wonder whether I've seen some of the scores that it seems to be fading a little bit, and I was kind of wondering whether they might be looking for the next chapter of that story. And I could see how you could stretch that out again over the next year or so.
And I completely agree with you on that, Mark, because, you know, it's still a very strong ad, but it's slipping back from what it was. And I just think that with maybe just move the story on just a little bit, it could really just reinvigorate the ad. I think an evolution of the story, just to kind of get people interested again, might deliver on that even further.
It's interesting though, like just when you compare this, let's say, to the Vodafone ad, where we've kind of said that story can go on and on. So maybe there's something slightly fundamentally flawed in the story. You know what I mean? I would agree. The story could move on. It feels like it needs to be freshened slightly without losing the essence of what they created. Speaking of freshening things up, M&S do it every year with their food ads. But again, they focus on Dawn French. I mean, when this ad came on the TV and it was Dawn French, I knew immediately, okay, I'm a marketing nerd, but I knew immediately it was M&S Food. And I loved her, like, you know, the happiness of the joy of singing in the car to the traffic, you know, that dose of reality we've talked about in some of the other ads. And then how it turned into something fantastical with the the Dawn French fairy character. So doing very well here in joint seventh. What were your thoughts on it, Linda?
Yeah, I thought, like, again, like, I don't know whether, we as marketeers, you kind of, as you said, Conor, like, you're kind of anticipating, right, the ads that are coming. And I think that there's a bit of a formula with M&S Food. And, so I kind of go, right, as you said, Dawn French, click, get it, it's M&S. Like, again, just, it's typical M&S. And I'm not sure that's probably not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's probably not a bad thing, actually. But, less storytelling. And, it did feel very festive. And it doesn't, versus, say, the Super Value one, right, where this is still doing a functional message around their food offering. It does it in a way that probably feels more, it is more emotive. It is a bit more creative, a bit more of a spectacle and higher production values, etc. Okay, it's M&S versus Super Value. But yeah, like, I was probably feeling a bit indifferent about it, if that's a way to describe it. Like, I kind of go, yeah, M&S, I like it, but maybe it's become a bit too formulaic.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really interesting because last year and the year before as well, we would have seen that people weren't as attached, let's say, to Dawn French in Ireland. So we would have tested this in Ireland and in the UK, and the UK it did way better. But this year, it's the highest performing ad that they've had that we've tested in years. So it's kind of the evolution that they brought us on this journey with Dawn.
It's funny because so I'm more with Linda, actually. I spent a while trying to crack like what the insight was behind this, and I'm still trying to, like, is it something along the lines of the stress of people hosting dinner parties over Christmas and how M&S can be the perfect solution? Other than that, I felt it was a lot of it was a lot of production values there. It was all style, but I didn't really know what was behind it all. So yeah, and there's always that danger where you're using, say, a front person for an ad where you say, like, if you're lacking substance in the ad, that we'll just put a famous face on it. I'm not sure.
You're paying your way over the problem. I'm going to be honest. The next one I'm surprised to see in the list. Really surprised. So it is Home, Store and More, Night Before Christmas.
Yeah, I was so surprised with this. They just, like, it's obviously low production. It's not, the story is quite basic, but people just loved it. And what is fascinating in the comments is people are saying, oh, I didn't know Home Store More did that. I must go down and have a look. I need to go to Home Store. But it's like, what? How did this happen? It's nearly like all their Christmases came at once and they delivered an ad that just is simple, but it sits really well with people.
Yeah, what do we know? People just want functional messaging. Who needs emotion? Who needs insights?
We're all wasting our time. Yeah, well, look, it was definitely a shocker to see it in there, as you said. Like, it's Linda. What was your thoughts on it?
I find it quite jarring. They're trying to do storytelling, but then just when it jumps then from the home then to the store, and I don't know. I'm so sorry. I just feel whether it's the production values or the craft to it or something, it just felt really jarring. Going from the storytelling at home to then the store and back. And I just felt it was a bit too try hard.
Yeah.
Do you know what strikes for this is that obviously as marketers, we're really focusing in on what we would have done better and, versus everything else. Yeah. For people at home, they're like, oh yeah, that's something new. I haven't seen that before.
The next one is The Holidays Are Coming. This is the new AI version.
I have quite a strong view on this.
Go on, Linda.
Okay, right. So look, I think AI is amazing. There's nothing wrong with using it in a creative way. I feel like they've gone too far. So, and again, it's interesting that it scores so highly from a consumer perspective. I struggle a little bit with it all feels too perfect, too try hard. And there was something so gorgeous about the original 90s version, maybe because it's what I remember growing up, and it's like, I don't know, authentic. And again, I feel like maybe it's marketeers that have come in and kind of gone, okay, we have to do something this year again. And the original was perfect.
I do remember, like, when I watched it, I kind of felt like I've seen something major here, but like, I will caveat that by saying not from a consumer perspective, more from a technological and weird, like in a marketing perspective, that, like, we're gone fully AI here in such a major campaign. But like, I've seen some of the scores here, like Fame was actually quite low on this. So like, it didn't impress consumers all that much that, we've got an AI update. It feels like it's more, it may impress some people from a technological perspective. But yeah, to your point, Linda, I was fine with the old ad. I didn't maybe call me reactionary, but I didn't feel that impressed. I feel the need for an AI update.
I think what's very clear from the comments and when you look at a number of the scores is that it's the music, it's the Coca-Cola, it's the Christmas ad. Whether or not it's AI, people are kind of like, that AI doesn't really land. It's just, oh, it's a Coca-Cola Christmas ad. Great. Some people talk about, oh, it's a lovely animation and stuff, but they're not calling out, oh, this is AI, I can't believe they've done this. Because for people sitting at home, they hear that music and it's like, oh, it's the Coke ad, it's the Coke ad. So
yeah,
exactly. They have a global VP head of generative AI. So there's someone in a role there, and their role is, how do we use AI? And so my kind of very public issue with it was that they, in their press release around this, they said they're pushing the bounds of creativity. And I'd be like, no, you're not. Like that's not what you're doing. If you were, I would celebrate that. I would celebrate pushing the bounds of creativity through AI. If that's, you didn't, you used AI and you leveraged the assets that people know and love and the scenes and all that to create something that, you know, didn't need to be created in the first place. So to me, it was wasteful, didn't do anything. I just felt like your Coke, if you want to push the bounds of creativity, go do it, but don't, you know, anyway, my rant is over. And so next up is another kind of been here before and it's out again. It's the Dunn's Shine Bright Christmas ad. And I think it's a lovely ad and it works, and it's not maybe some of the other supermarket ads where it's full of product. It actually is telling a bit of a story, and it's the magic of Christmas. And, you know, to me, this one does work. It has worked, and it's nice to see it being out in the market again.
Yeah, and look, it's one of those, another one of the ads, and it's just gets better and better. It's the highest achieving score that we've had over the past number of years, and people just enjoy seeing it. They recognize it. It does very well for the brand. You know, it could go on for another few years and people would still love it. It just is the essence of Christmas that people want to see on TV.
And I can see why it's only increasing, really, in that, again, the underlying insight here, like the need for connection and belonging is only increasing these days. So there's no coincidence why it's still living on.
And it's, I can't remember the agency that did it or the production company, but like it's beautifully shot. You know, like it's almost like you're watching a movie, or, you know, I think some of the comments was it the comments in the research about it looked like Home Alone or something, but it's beautifully shot. So I think that really adds a layer to it. My only thought was, and I don't know, like I know, and I watched it a couple of times to see like where does the Dunn's brand come in. And it does actually a couple of times, but then I just wondered, do people associate it with Dunn's?
Could it be for any retailer?
Yeah, could you take out the Dunn's store that features or the whatever and put it
Home
with
Store and More?
Another one. Yeah, and, you know, so that was my only thought was, do people link it with Dunn's specifically?
Yeah, it has average distinctive scores, which is, it's not excelling on that at all, but it's not bad.
Okay.
And it's probably...
And the choice of actors in it as well, by the way, that's still, those two kid actors, they're brilliant. Brilliant.
So we move on to, we're heading into kind of our top 4 territory. So number 4 is Aldi, and guess who? Kevin the Carrot. Kevin's back. It's Kevin's wedding. I'm gonna hold off on my views. What do you think, Linda? We'll go to you.
Look, I'm nothing against carrots. I think,
I love all carrots.
Yeah, I love carrots. Look, I think again, if you think about, you know, principles of, you know, building your brand and your creativity, you have to, like, the fluent device, they've consistently done it over the years. You know, they've built the story. You know, now he's getting married and he's going on the stag and everything. So I just think, you know, again, they're building it. I don't know. I know they've teased it in 3 parts this year. So again, I kind of feel like, you know, you're making me work too hard to, you know, have to, you know, I don't know, maybe that's just me. But look, I liked it. I just think it's a continuation of what they've done. I did think it was interesting that consumers were saying, oh, we've got a bit bored of Kevin. Do you know the way? But I don't know why they're saying that. Like, it just, you know, but versus this kind of the super value, very rational, functional, I do think it's, you know, it's nice. It's cute. And Kevin, you recognize Kevin without, like, you know, associate Kevin with Aldi. So, you know,
Yeah, I'm kind of really impressed about how Kevin has been developed as a distinctive brand asset, how even the Aldi Christmas campaigns have gained a strong profile. Like, they're actively sought out, similar to the John Lewis bracket. That was great storytelling as well. I love the humor. It wasn't too juvenile, and it was kind of sharp enough humor, and it was well branded throughout as well, with product references peppered all the way through. Where I had maybe a bit of a challenge, probably similarly going back to the M&S ad, where these campaigns are being stretched out quite over a long period of time, whether it's, like, say, a minute and a half, or as you say, in parts. That after a while you kind of go, no, well, like, what's in it for the consumer here? Like, it felt to me a little bit more brand out than, say, consumer in. So that would be my concern, actually, that it's more about the brand and more about Kevin. And
I suppose when you look at the results, the ad or the campaign really does really well on 3 areas. The first is what we call fame, which is essentially talkability, sharing online, going looking for it. And that is the highest score of all the ads that we've tested, and is much higher, like it's a significant gap. And score comes in at 77. John Lewis, for example, is at 71. So it's still way above us. The other areas that it does really well in, it's not the highest emotional response, but it's really high on emotional response. And it's all amusement. So people are getting a laugh out of it. They're enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then the next one that's doing really well is on distinctiveness, because the minute they see Kevin the Carrot, they know it's reality.
Yeah.
So those 3 elements means that it's just a really good creative that gets the brand across, gets people entertained, and, you know, they talk about it and they think Christmas is starting. So it's just really good on those 3 areas.
Yeah, and like, for me, so maybe it's what you talked about, the fact that it was in the 3 parts and, you know, all that. I kind of was just bored. I'm like, oh, really? Do I have to wait? Do I have to wait to see what happens next? And last year they did just like 2-parter. I was like, I don't need this in my life. You know, just get to the point. Because I like all the good stuff about Kevin the Carrot. And so, listen, we're getting into our top 3, and we've a new entry in at number 3. Eason, inspire someone this Christmas. Now, I hadn't seen it until we watched the ads here, so I hadn't actually seen it on the telly. What did you guys think of it? What did you make of it?
It brought a tear to my eye when I watched it. I thought it was beautiful. I think the storytelling is just wonderful.
Yeah.
And how they incorporate the brand, so relevant to both the story but also to the brand. And that is essentially what people just adored about the ad. And they loved that it, you know, tells a beautiful story of grandfather and granddaughter and building that connection. It really is the Christmas spirit all wrapped up into a nice, warm, cozy ad. And people just loved it. And it scores so well across everything.
Yeah.
Emotional response you can imagine in terms of making people feel warm and happy is really high. And distinctiveness is also quite good. So they recognised as being for Easons even. So yeah, it's just, I love it. And people in Ireland love it too.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ciara, that was the first ad that we've seen on the list so far that has such strong rational and emotional scores.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought, like, and that's not to say that they were low on emotion either. Like, the emotion was off the charts as well, but they've got the balance of both.
Yeah.
So there's a really strong product message in there as well. I thought the relatability of the ad itself was brilliant. The choice of, again, acting and actors of treatment was super. It made it feel really close to home at a time, I think, where, like, you know, localness and connection is, again, super important. So the representation of the insight there was really clear and strong too.
There was also something lovely around, so Christmas, like, you know, and everyone, you know, getting more and more devices and spending more time online, and actually, but in a lovely way, talking about the simplicity of actually just reading, you know, without like shoving it down people's throats or, you know, wagging the finger and saying you should do more reading. That to me also came through really strongly, but in a very like just understated way. And I think also whether you are, you know, whether you have kids or you don't have kids, whether you're a grandparent or you're not a grandparent, I think just the insight around the power of the bonds between, you know, grandfather and their grandchild is just so powerful that you get it. It's relatable. I think you said that, Mark, but it's just so relatable. So yeah, I loved it.
And the same here. And I love the narrative arc as well, where it looked like the grandfather was fobbing off the granddaughter as well at one point.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. But then to see them with the payoff.
Yes.
And there was something, I don't know, like, I think it could work in loads of markets, but there was something that felt really Irish about it as well that I loved. I don't know what that was, but I was like, it feels like a really just Irish piece of creative. And I loved it as well. So well done. So we're into the top 2. Number 2 is Amazon. So they've brought this ad back. And again, I was delighted to see. I loved this ad when it came out first. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe. And they didn't have it out last year, but they brought it back.
Yeah.
Great to see it come back. Lovely piece of creative. lovely story. But sorry, that's my view.
Yeah, to your point, Conor, there around because I watched it a couple of times, and I think you did it, Mark. You said in one of the ads, like I timed where the brand came in, and I think it comes about a third of the way in, right? But I think, yeah, if it's coming from like, Amazon global brand, it doesn't feel it didn't like they weren't ramming the Amazon brand down your throat. So I think the way the brand comes into it, very subtle, but you get it that it's Amazon. So I think it actually does a good job in a very subtle way. And I just loved it. The insight around friendships, your nostalgia, memories. It also feeling, and actually all three of the top 3 ads, I think, all around the inclusivity. I thought it was lovely as well, but in a very, again, authentic way. It didn't feel forced. So no, yeah, I loved the Amazon one. I'm delighted they brought it back.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, I wanted to pick holes in this, but I couldn't really. And to be honest, it was probably the first ad that came to mind when I was thinking about Christmas ads this year that come to mind. But like the simplicity of the ad itself, how strongly there's the link between the brand, the ad itself, but also like, I was actually really impressed about, like, not a single word was uttered during the course of the whole ad, which obviously then allows it to be, like, easily then played around globally without any kind of adaptation. So I was kind of impressed with that. And in a way, you kind of, there's a link there to say, we're all the same anyway. They need words. So, but it's hugely emotional, really strong intrinsic link to the brand, the proposition, and very well executed.
And as you said, Conor, it's great to see it back, because last year they had, you might remember, it was called Midnight Opus. It was the kind of opera singer on
I
stage.
hated that one, I'll be honest.
Yeah, and I think that it just didn't live up to expectation at all. The scores were quite poor on it. But this has come back with stronger than ever emotional response. People just feel that warmth. They love the Christmas feel about the inclusivity. And so you mentioned, it's just lovely to see older women just being able to enjoy themselves. And as you're saying at the start, Linda, the distinctiveness of being able to reconnect it to the brand, it's really strong. So I thought when I was looking at, the box, everybody knows the box.
Yes.
We all have that box covered at the door. So it's the best asset for them. So, introducing that a third of the way through, as you said, just enables everyone to know straight away, this is Amazon. And then they enjoy the story. So they wait to the end. Yeah, it's just a really good ad.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will I'll add some reveal music to this part. Because we're at number one. The number one Irish ad in Ireland for Christmas is, actually, I'll do the long pause, like the X Factor, is Woodie's. Yay, Woodie's. For anyone listening outside of Ireland, Woodie's is a home decor DIY retail shop. And they, again, is an ad that's been out before a number of years. And I guess the story, well, people can watch it. I'll add the link into the show notes so people can go watch it. But it's a really lovely story, has a bit of a twist. And I think the more I see it, the more I'm like, I actually quite like this ad. It's good.
Yeah, and it just, from the consumer perspective, it just ticks all the notes that people are looking for a Christmas ad. It, what a few people actually say in the comments is, not all young kids are bad. Some of them are good. And it's it's just highlighting, that kids care, and that it's bringing that intergenerational relationship together again. So all of the metrics are really high on this. And the interesting thing is, I think this first came out in 2022, and in 2023 we tested it on Red Star, and then nobody in the office had seen it. So I rang up head office and I said, "Oh, do you have the ad out?" And they said, "No, it's only going on socials this year." So obviously that decision changed somewhere.
Yeah.
Definitely for the right reasons, because it's just a fantastic ad, and they should be pushing it every year when they can.
Yeah. It's interesting, like across the top 3 ones, there's definitely a theme around just the human connection across generations, which again is something that is just so powerful. And probably, like, everyone gets it, everyone understands it, everyone can relate to it more than ever. And just, really simple story. I just think it's just, beautifully simple story, beautifully told.
If only the experience in the shop was simple.
I absolutely love this as well. And it occurred to me that, there's this thing with the trick with creating a strong connection to music bands is that often you have a stronger sense of affinity to a band when you think you've discovered it for yourself, or that it has a specific, unique meaning to yourself. I kind of got that impression with this ad in a way. When I was watching the ad, I was kind of recognizing, like, people or characters that I would know from, say, my childhood or from Ireland as well. So that really resonated with me as well. So a lot of the characters didn't feel like actors at all, to be honest. I could see my community there in that, and that just felt really relatable. Again, as you say, Linda, at a time where community, localness, authenticity, and connection really matters more than ever. So, like, already they were getting off to a really strong start, and then that narrative arc again, of a term that I've overused so far, but like there was a sense of jeopardy during the course of the ad itself, that story, where it looked like, okay, what's going to happen here, and you really start to worry, because the first maybe half of the ad, you're starting to build up, investing care for Mrs. Higgins, and you really are invested in her. By the time then the pivot moment comes along, so again the payoff then was massive, and as you say, it's simple but beautiful at the same time.
Brilliant stuff. Well, listen, that is our top 20 ads as tested on the Red Star platform, Red Sea. Thanks a million. Before we go, I do want to get your all-time favorite Christmas ad. So this is just going to be interesting. There's no data to back up why you love it, but Linda, what is your all-time favorite?
Well, you're probably going to get, I can't not say, I would have to say the Guinness Christmas ad. And actually, it's interesting. Why was it not tested?
I'll tell you why it's not tested. Because it by far the best in the world ever. It's off the charts. We did test it before, and nobody else would have a
chance. Okay. That makes me feel great. But I do
officially
Guinness Christmas ads. I think this is the 21st year it's running. And like, I think, Mark, you mentioned, or someone mentioned something about when they see an ad, it signals Christmas. Like, that to me, that's just the music.
Oh, yeah.
It's the black and white. It's the craft, the production. It's emotion without, like, again, like, there's not you hear the couple, but there's not a huge voiceover to it. And actually, the product doesn't feature at all, but it's those distinctive brand assets, right? Which is Q, Guinness. So sorry, I'm a bit of a geek, but I would have to say the Guinness Christmas ad.
That's okay.
Yeah, I had to have a bit of a rummage around in my brain to avoid a Guinness reference, because I assumed you would go for Guinness, but I would have myself. But the one that occurred to me was the old classic Kellogg's one, you might remember. So yeah, that one still feels like, brings me right back to childhood, signifies Christmas again for me as well. There's only a few ads that do that. So Guinness would be one, Coca-Cola would be another, and then the other one that occurs to me is the Budweiser Clydesdale ad as well. So they'd all be in there. But yeah, I love the storyline around it kind of brings it right back to childhood with the Kellogg's ad.
Ciara?
One of my tops was the cornflakes ad as well, because of childhood, and my sister had the exact same haircut, and we always say that's true. We like even now we'd be all looking for that ad for when she's in it. But the other ad I thought that was really good, and they could bring it back, is, do you remember Denny's did an ad, and the team were hiding on Christmas morning in the kitchen to record the real life reactions. And I just thought that it made the feels now, like it was just beautiful, and it was just so real and raw, because it was. And I just thought it was an incredible ad, and I think that could easily come back and be used again and again.
Yeah, you could smell the fry up to the screen.
Yeah,
couldn't you? Oh yeah, no, they're great. I probably had a very similar list. I was lucky enough to talk to some of the team that made the Guinness Christmas ad. So a couple of years ago. That's wonderful. Do you know what I posted about it, and somebody corrected me? I said it's like one of the greatest ads, and he said it's the Sergeant Pepper. It was Michael Brown, the Sergeant Pepper of Christmas advertising. I was like, oh, that's such a brilliant way. I had the Kellogg's one as well, the little girl, the hoe. I love that. And one that I was involved with making, but only lasted a year because the brand got sold. But O2, Stephen McCarthy was involved in this, made a lovely Christmas ad one year, and it only aired once for 1 year, I think. It had was it Sarah Bareilles song? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Christmas song. So I always thought that always had such huge potential, I think, to become an ad that was around for a long time. But that's great. And do you know what's been brilliant, actually? I think in this episode, I know we focused on kind of the Irish market in a way, but we've talked about some amazing craft that's coming out of this market. And I don't, like, here we are, we're talking about a lot of these ads that have been made are made by Irish teams, Irish creatives, Irish agencies, and that's wonderful. So it shows there is amazing craft in this market, which is incredible. So brilliant. Listen, guys, thank you so much for your time today. I love doing this. It's so much fun, and we've got consumer data to back it up. So it'd be interesting if we did our top 20, what would we come up with? But it doesn't matter, because what we say doesn't really count. It's what consumers think. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I do love recording this episode, and it is brilliant to have
the Red Star results that are enabling us to have the conversation around the top 20, what our own top 20 would have looked like if we were to rate them ourselves. But what matters in our world of marketing communications is what consumers think, and Red Star is able to give you the data. So thanks again to Red Sea Research for their partnership with this episode, and to my wonderful guests, Ciara, Linda, and Marc, just for being so open. It was such an enjoyable conversation. And, you know, as I said at the end there, what a great crop of ads from Irish agencies, Irish marketers, and Irish brands in our top 20 this year. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate or review it and share it with one other person who you think might enjoy it. And congratulations to all the brands listed in today's top 20. So that's it from me, your host, Conor Byrne. Until the next episode, take care.
If you would like to reach an engaged community of marketing leaders, get in touch with That's What I Call Marketing to discuss sponsorship opportunities.